Okay, scouting from home. Scouting from home. Huh. This looks a lot different than the campsite, but we're going to make the best of it. I've got my sleeping bag, and I'm all ready. Let's get cozy. There we go. This isn't too bad. I could get used to this. It's a lot more comfortable than the cots down at Heritage. You know, this is pretty good, but it still just doesn't feel like scouting yet. There's got to be something we can do to make our inside look a little bit more like our outside. I have an idea. Hey, Japeechen Scouters, Justin here, and I have a great idea. Nothing puts me in the scouting mood more than setting up my favorite tent. Have you ever set up a tent before? If you haven't, follow along with me today. We'll go real slow. Before you set up a tent inside, there's a few preliminary steps you should take. The first is to ask your mom if it's okay if you set up a tent inside. Hey Mom, is it okay if I set up a tent in the living room? She said yes, right? Okay, step 2. We need to have a huge area to set our tent up. So anything that's in the way, we're going to have to move out of here. So let's start with this. We won't need this anymore. Also, we won't need this. And there we go. I'm going to move this cushion. I'm going to move this ottoman. And there we go. This is almost as big as the campsite. Okay, what else do we need? I've got it! The tent! There we go. To set up a scout tent inside, the first thing you need is your scout tent. Okay, let me move the screen down so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Hey, Japeechen Scouters. Hope you can see me a little better. So, whenever you set up your scout tent, the first thing we'll want to do is take it out of its bag. Sometimes, it's a good idea, even before you go camping, to open up your tent and make sure all the pieces are there, so whenever you get to the campsite, there's no surprises. Let's unroll our tent. There we go. Okay, inside the bag, you should find 3 things. You should find a smaller bag that has your tent poles in it. For most tents, there'll be 3 poles. There'll be 2 long poles and 1 short pole. Let's put those aside. The second thing you should find in your tent bag is the rain fly. The rain fly is to help to protect the tent from the elements. Because we're camping inside, we probably won't need this. I want to have a great view out the top of my tent of the stars, or at least the ceiling fan. We won't need this. The final thing that you should find in your tent bag is the tent itself. Let's unfold the tent and lay it flat on the floor. And there we go. Let's make sure that it's going to fit in our space. This looks pretty good. Okay, now let's begin setting up our tent poles. You'll notice that your tent poles are folded and connected with rope in between them. These tent poles articulate so they can fold up to fit better in the bag. Let's begin putting them together. There we go. Each piece I add, they get longer and longer. Just a few more. There we go. Make sure when you're setting up your tent inside that you have lots of room so you don't damage anything, because then your mom would be real mad. Let's set up pole number 2. There we go. Putting it together, putting it together. How many of you have ever set up a tent before? Is this a first time? If it is, I'm really excited to be here for it. If it's not, this is still great practice. And there we go. Now we have both of our long poles put together. The final pole in the bag will be the short pole. This short pole is to help put the rain fly on. Since we're not using our rain fly, we're not going to put this pole together, okay? Okay, the first step for setting up our tent is to find the end of one of our long poles and the corner of our tent. On the corner of the tent, you'll see a spike. This spike will fit inside an opening at the end of the tent hole. So let's begin by taking our spike and putting it inside the tent pole and stretching it out. Now, let's go to the opposite side of the tent and do the same thing. We're going to need to bend the poles. They might look too long, but don't worry. They'll be just right if we bend them. Also, don't worry, there's no chance of them breaking. They're very strong. Okay, here we go. Coming to the other side. Okay. On the other side of the tent, you should see exactly the same thing. You should see that spike, and it should fit right inside the end of your tent pole. There we go. One half of the tent complete. Let's lay this section down. Now let's move to the opposite side of the tent. Let's take our next long pole, place the end of it inside the spike, and lift it up. Now, let's go across to the other side. There we go. Oops, got my tent pole stuck. There we go. That's one of the hazards of setting up a tent inside, is you don't have a lot of room to work with. Okay, here we go. Let's put this one inside, and let's spread the tent out and make sure everything's still together. And there we go. Oops, these sides came out. Sometimes it's a good idea to have a friend's help setting up your tent. If you don't, you'll have situations like this where you'll have to redo things. But that's okay. There we go. And one more. Okay. Well, we've got our poles up, but this doesn't really look like a tent yet. We're missing something. Wait a second. What are all of these clips? Along the body of the tent, you'll find clips. These clips will go over the poles to start giving the tent its shape. Let's start clipping them. 1, 2, there should be 4 on each side of the tent. Make sure not to forget any. There we go. 2, 3. There we go. This is starting to look like a tent already. I hope that you get lots of practice setting up tents, so whenever we get together next time, you'll be experts. And there we go. There we go. This is looking great. I'm so glad you guys came over today to work on this tent with me. And there we go. And last side. 1 clip, 2 clip, 3 clip, 4. Huh, that looks great. Okay, now that we have our tent set up, it's time for my favorite part. Let's open up the tent and get inside. There we go. Let's just open this door. And let's get inside our tent. Huh. This feels more like scouting. Do you think that you could set up a tent in your living room? I bet you can, and I bet that you'd have so much fun doing it. Okay, well thanks so much for stopping by today and helping me get my tent set up and helping me get back to scouting. For the next 30 days while we're stuck at home, remember, stay safe and stay scouting.